It's time for Tastemaker Talk, the podcast for food creators who want to level up their business and make an impact in the creator economy. I'm Abby Rodriguez.
And I'm Chandace Probst. We're your hosts and fellow food content creators here to dive deep into the trends, tools, and topics shaping the industry around us. There's so much to uncover, so let's talk about it. Tastemaker Talk.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Tastemaker Talk. We get to talk about YouTube strategy for growth with Maria Lucey today. I'm super excited to talk about this because YouTube, I feel, is the way of the future. We've been hearing about this for years, like video is the future. We're now living in it. We're seeing it. So I'm excited to introduce her. Maria Lucey is a registered dietitian and content creator behind a growing YouTube channel and nutrition blog. She focuses on simplifying evidence-based nutrition into practical, everyday habits and recipes. While a lot of the advice online has become overly extreme, Maria's approach is to bring it back to common sense and sustainability. So welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you for having me.
So are you joining us? Like, do you live in Ireland currently?
No,
Where do you live?
Make it even more random. I live in Bermuda.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, like, can we get a little tidbit
Where it
into
is?
like your life and how you came to be in Bermuda and you're an international creator and I just
Yeah,
think that's so
I'm
fascinating.
all over the place. So I travel a lot between Ireland, Bermuda, and the United States.
Okay.
So I live on a lovely tropical island, the best of both worlds. Great weather, unlike Ireland. But yeah, I've been here 3 years now. Came over here with my now husband, kind of for his work, and then I was working in the hospital here as well for a while, until I became full time with my
Yeah.
own YouTube and blog.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great.
That's incredible. I feel like this is the thing that I talk to people about all the time. Like being a creator, having your own business is like the time freedom and life freedom it allows you. Like it's amazing. To your point, you're like, well, I went there to be a dietitian, but content creation essentially, it sounds like has given you that freedom to be
It's
geographically flexible.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like you get like, your quality of life just like skyrockets. You can spend time with family, you can go where you need to go and still work. And it's just the best thing I've ever done for myself. So I have a lot to thank for YouTube and blogging.
Okay. So, how did you get into, so give us your backstory. You're a
hmm
dietitian.
Yeah.
So, you became a dietitian first and then decided, oh my gosh, I can turn this into content online. Like, give us a little bit of the background there.
Yeah. So I've been a dietitian with over 10 years and like a traditional dietitian route is always kind of working in like a hospital or in clinical practice, seeing patients. And that is what I like initially kind of went into do. And I do,
Hmm.
and I still do a little bit of that. And I love that. But I kind of quickly realized that there was a bigger role for dietitians because we have spent so many years training that we have a lot of knowledge that could benefit so many other people.
Hmm.
And I just felt the nutrition information online was always extreme. It was just like there was no middle ground. And I also wanted to go from helping individual people on a one to one basis to being able to help more people. Um, so my role in Ireland, I find now this is just my own experience, but blogging is like, what is that? I know that's kind of a little bit everywhere, but
Oh,
like
okay. Hmm.
it's like, what is that? Especially amongst
Hmm.
dietitians, they would have no idea about you can even like have a business based around a blog. So how I got into it was I started on YouTube. So I just decided it was I'm quite new. I'm only on YouTube about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And I was always a big consumer of YouTube, always watching other YouTubers, loved the platform. And I felt that there was a gap in the market for that common sense approach. Like there was
Hmm.
loads of recipe creators, loads of wellness influencers, like people preaching different messages, but I just felt like there was nobody who had a message that I had to share.
Hmm.
So I decided, okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And it was probably like, I would say it was one of the scariest things I did. It took me like 6 months of like nearly getting myself ready to like post my first video. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a quick decision by any means. I put a lot of thought into it. So I first started on YouTube, and then a couple of months in, I stumbled across like another YouTuber who was talking about her blog and how her blog was helping her YouTube channel, and that it was all this like ecosystem. And I was like, what is she
Mm.
talking about? I've watched so many videos online and I've never ever heard anybody talking about this. And then I like started looking into it, and then I realized like this is how all those food creators were making money.
Yeah.
Because it was all so novel to me. So then I stumbled across a girl, Kayla Burton. She does food blog coaching, and I like
Hmm.
just started messaging her on Facebook or on Instagram. And then I started to realize that there was this whole thing behind blogging. So then I started my blog like a couple of months later, because I figured I was putting in all this work to YouTube, and all of the work that I was doing on my scripts, on my recipes, I was essentially just like storing them on like a Google Drive when I could have been just posting them on a blog where they were
Yeah.
also working for me. So then,
Okay. Question.
mhm.
Were you were you monetizing? You weren't monetizing at this point then on YouTube, or were you?
I started monetizing within 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So because I know some people it takes a very long time, but I suppose I went all in on YouTube first.
Hmm.
And then the blog was kind of like my secondary system, whereas now they're
Okay.
much more equal, I would say.
Hmm. That's so fascinating because I think like in my experience with a lot of the food bloggers that I know, right, it's the inverse. They started
Mm,
with the website, built all of that ad revenue and traffic, but like that's shifting, right? With just how search has shifted and GEO and SEO and everything. And so like people are now like, I want to be on YouTube. I want to have that as a presence because it just defines you as like an expert and an authority. But you did the inverse, which I feel like is serving you well now because you've already developed this community
hmm.
on YouTube. So you would say that your like monetization is about equal? Like, can you walk us through how one monetizes their YouTube? Like if we're looking, we're talking to the people who are maybe thinking about it or have started a YouTube, but they're still trying to uh, diversify that way.
So like YouTube, you can get paid directly. So I think it's that you need to have as a 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. I think it is
Okay.
actually a little bit lower now. I think you can have 500 subscribers and maybe 3,000 watch hours. And then you
It's a
get,
lot.
it is
Do
a
you feel
lot.
like that's a lot? Like, how long does it take you to get there?
So the subscribers isn't too bad, but it's the watch hours that can be challenging for
Yeah.
people,
Okay.
particularly if you're not doing much long form. Like you would need to be doing long form videos.
Okay.
But like, what I would say is that at the start it feels like it's impossible, but then if you have like one or two videos start to do well, the watch hours do clock up very quickly. Then, what I would say to people is that I wouldn't be starting on YouTube thinking that YouTube AdSense is suddenly going to be a great source of revenue.
Mm,
Like it's for me now it's a nice source of revenue, but like I wouldn't be able to sustain my business on it. But it is a nice addition. I think
right.
I think if you're looking at like making money from content from an ad point of view, you get higher RPMs through your blog if you're with like a Raptive or a Mediavine or something like that. So I do think you will get more that way. But what YouTube has been very good for me for is like brand deals. Like you can get like that's where a lot of the revenue is, but then also in selling your own digital products or
Mm,
growing your email list. So I've got a huge like people can't get over the size of my email list considering like when I first started, and it was all from YouTube, and then that's great if you do sell anything.
yeah. What would you say your conversion rate from YouTube subscribers to newsletter sign up conversions? Like, do you have like a percentage? Do you track that at all?
I don't track that, but I have 50,000 subscribers on YouTube
Uh-huh.
and I have 10,000 email subscribers, so that's 20%.
That's a huge, we'll use that stat. That's insane because I think like Right, we're seeing people using grow.co, formerly Grocers List,
Mm.
to take like their Instagram traffic and convert that into newsletter subscribers and really trying to get people to own their audience through email, like taking the
Mm-hmm.
dependent platforms and going independent. So I find that super fascinating for people that are thinking about YouTube as part of their ecosystem or,
Mm-hmm.
have it already. And it's like, are you capitalizing on it?
Yeah, and what I would say there is what I'm very grateful that I did right from the beginning because I wasn't great with email. I'm a bit better now,
Mm-hmm.
but I had heard all the advice that it's so important to grow your email list. So from the very start when I was posting YouTube videos on almost all of my videos, I did have like an opt-in. And I think that like that was so important. So like at the end of every video, I might say, and I have a free recipe book or a free protein guide if you sign up through the link below. Or if I had a video on a specific topic, I would maybe make a lead magnet for that specific topic and then put it in the description box. So I did that from the very start, and I think that was really important.
In terms of like the search with that, like how much of your energy are you devoting to SEO? Because from my understanding, YouTube is essentially its own search engine.
Yeah.
So are those principles the same? Like, or do you have a YouTube search strategy and then just like a general SEO search strategy for Google?
Um, I think if you're a blogger, you're going to have good SEO knowledge, which is a good starting point.
Yeah.
But I do think YouTube has changed a lot in the last while. That it's not as much of a search. Like it is a search platform, but I think
Mm-hmm.
when I'm going for discoverability, um, it's not the first thing on my mind.
Okay.
So for example, I have found a few gaps on YouTube for like certain dietary conditions. Like one of them is
Mm-hmm.
hemochromatosis. Now it's quite like niche, so I now like rank for that. And there's a few other things that I rank for, and they bring me in consistent views. But I don't now. It's not my strategy to actually kind of go looking for those things because there's so much content out there. I actually will make a video hoping to get a lot of initial views, which comes from not an SEO title that people are looking for. It's something more like on trend, maybe, or something
Mm-hmm.
controversial or something that I know is going to get people clicking.
Okay, because I was perusing your YouTube yesterday and just looking through your website. Because when I look at your website, right, it's like the traditional food blog. Are you on a feast theme?
Yeah.
Right, I can see that, and it's beautiful. By the way, your recipes are amazing and beautiful. I'm like,
Thank
this
you.
is cool. And then when I go look at your YouTube, right, it's talking a lot about like a very specific topic about using nutrition for weight loss. So do you feel like that is like, tell me about your strategy on YouTube? To me, like as a consumer and looking at it, it was like, this is the thing that seems to perform well on YouTube. So I talk a lot about this topic. Is that true? Would you say that's
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, that is
Okay.
true. Yeah. I'm kind of in the middle of my strategy is doing a certain amount of that, and then I'm trying to experiment more with kind of things that I actually want to do a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do a bit more kind of recipe specific things because they can perform well. But again, you are like, for example, if I was making a recipe for chocolate chip cookies, I wouldn't put up a video and title it the best chocolate chip cookies. I would probably title it something like your, I don't know, popular cookies are not good, try these instead, or something more thought provoking. I think you want to like there's a certain amount you can do with SEO. So within the video, you will do all your keywords, you'll fill out your description, but I really only think that's a small percentage of it.
Okay. So it's really about like, not clickbait. I feel like clickbait is like this term that's kind of has a negative connotation, but YouTube, I feel you have to be able to grab people's attention. Like I have teenage and like middle-aged, elementary-aged boys
Hmm.
who live on YouTube. Like I feel like that is how they consume information. They don't even really use Google. Like they literally go to YouTube for everything. And the things like I am watching them with my eye, of like, hey, what are they doing strategically for their content? And obviously their algorithm is continuing to feed them the shorts that they watch or like the long form videos. but there seems to just be like this template that is followed, and it's very like eye grabbing. Your thumbnails are very eye grabbing, and it's that eye catching hook, I suppose, right? Which it sounds like you're saying. So, like, do you think like you have to do that, or you think that's just like a trend, or is that like part of the template for
I
YouTube?
think I think there's a middle ground because as you said with clickbait, you definitely do not want anything clickbaity. So if for
Yeah.
example somebody clicked on this chocolate chip cookie recipe and then I was making like brownies,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what they came here for and they're going to click off your video and then you're going to have a really low percentage view duration and YouTube does not like that. That's a really bad signal
Okay.
for the algorithm. I think I think it's like I think it's finding a balance for food creators where you're using a little bit of like your traditional SEO, but you're making it a little bit more exciting. And then you start getting like regular viewers. And then YouTube starts to show because YouTube, it's all about the viewer at the end of the day. And when they realize the type of viewers that's watching your content, they'll then start sending your content out to more people like that. So you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
starting to build like a community basically that people get to know your kind of content, your personality, your style, and then they watch you for you. Like I have some people who
Mm-hmm.
comment on my videos and say, I had no interest in this topic, but I watched it anyway. Oh my God, that was nice. Thanks.
So I
So,
think that's like an interesting part of YouTube and the
mm,
conversations that I've been having with people as we see the creator economy explode in a new way, social commerce becoming this new thing. And YouTube seems to be like this topic because it's very much this parasocial relationship, which I think creators across the board, people have parasocial relationships with them, but I feel like YouTube takes it one step further because you feel like you have this intimacy. People are seeing like your studio or your home or wherever you
yeah,
live. Do you like how have you seen like a difference with that? Like your YouTube watchers and audience versus, let's say, like on your social media or your newsletter subscribers? I mean, I know there's some crossover, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts about like the audience and community building power of YouTube.
yeah, I definitely have noticed that like having my community on YouTube is way more powerful if I was to share a link or anything like that. They're way more likely to engage and click on it compared to if I was to share something on my like Instagram stories. They're just a more
Mm-hmm.
like the best way I can describe it is if you're on Instagram, like I can be watching loads of creators and I don't even know their name, even though I watch them all the time. But if you're on YouTube, people are kind of like sitting down and watching you, and it's more intentional, and they know
Mm-hmm.
you, and they definitely feel like they have that deeper connection. And this might sound really odd, but I'm actually not the most. I don't like sharing that much about me. So what I
Oh.
actually like about YouTube compared to some of the short form platforms, I actually feel like I'm very well able to keep my personal life to myself, even though I share long form content almost, because you don't have to be showing up every single day on stories. You don't have to be posting all the time. You can just do like one very good intentional long form video a week. You don't have to be
That is
showing up
super
everywhere all the time.
That's super interesting. I feel like it goes to the psychology of like quantity over quality in relationships, where it's like, if I show up and I talk to this person every day, they're going to feel so loved. But it's like, no, if you're having really shallow connections all the time, like, are those going to be as meaningful as like one really deep, intentional session with somebody, but it's less time? I really
Hmm.
like that. I feel like that's a good takeaway because I think like
Yeah.
that's the problem for food creators too. It's like this need and creators in general. Like you feel like you just need to maybe be everywhere doing the newest shiny thing, and that leads to burnout because it's hard unless you have a full production team to do all of that. So I think that's like a very optimistic way to look at it. Like in this time of really leaning in and building community, like YouTube has like a long-term value. It might be like a lot of high effort, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of high reward at the end.
Yeah,
What
completely.
would you say about that?
I think, yeah, I completely agree. I think I feel no problem stepping away from my phone for a day or two and spending it completely offline. I don't feel like I have to post all the time. I just put a lot of intention to what I do, and it's just a nice quality of life way of looking at it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it is that long form strategy that I think will stand to you because even videos that I first published 2.5 years ago that are absolutely awful they still bring me in views and I still get regular comments on them. And yeah, it just shows that that work is still serving you, I think.
So I feel like you said this earlier and you're like, I'm a personal person. I don't really like to share a whole lot. I think like a big thing, at least for me, let's say if I was going to start a YouTube, there is some sort of fear of it feels like a lot of work, first of all, but
Mhm.
to that point of like, I feel like I have to talk a lot and I love talking. I'm so great at talking. I could talk all day long. But I feel like it's like, do people want to hear this? Do they want to listen? And there's kind of this fear of like making yourself visible and just chatting and I guess a sense of vulnerability that you have to put out there. Like how what advice would you give to people, knowing that you are somewhat of a private person, but you've been able to strike this balance? Like, what advice would you give to people who may struggle with that?
Yeah, firstly, I'd probably try to shift the mindset about it. And maybe I'm just very backwards and everything here, but I think long form is in some ways a lot easier than short form because you still have to be snappy, you still have to keep people's attention and everything. But short form now, you have to be just like hooks, everything has to be fast, you have to be really
Mm-hmm.
getting kind of retention. Whereas long form, and if you're a recipe creator, a food creator, you're already putting a lot of effort into like every single recipe. So you do have a lot of value in that one recipe that I'm sure you would love to put forward in something that's longer than 30 seconds. Um, what I would say is like start, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think even sometimes filming a recipe long form might seem hard because you're trying to get different
Mm-hmm.
angles, you're trying to like cook, you're trying to like get the dry ingredients, you're trying to weigh everything. Sometimes what I had somebody was asking me for advice recently and I said, why don't you do like a video about like my 5 favorite kitchen tools and just start with something like that if that's a little bit easier for you. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can move on to kind of cooking. But if you're worried about what to say, like when I first started, I scripted all of my videos very like almost word for word. And that was helpful in the beginning. And then once you get more comfortable, I still script everything very well, but once you get more comfortable, you don't have to be as strict with it. I think it is nice to share, like I still share about myself, but I suppose you do always have to remember that people want people aren't there for me. I'm not like a celebrity. I'm not the
Yeah.
most like unless you have a really, really exciting life. People need to be getting value all the time. So you have to be giving them either like information or maybe it's relatability, maybe that is it. But I think you have to always think about the viewer and not about yourself. You have to think what are they getting from this? It's always that kind of relationship,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I think that is like you bring a good point about the tension of being a creator because it's like I am trying to make myself a public figure more or less,
Hmm.
but like also I'm here to just give people information. I'm here to educate them and I'm here to entertain them and maybe eventually I'll turn into some sort of public figure that they develop this parasocial relationship with. But it's like balancing a lot of those hats. And I think sometimes like it sounds really simple as we're talking about it out loud, but I think, if we can get stuck in our internal heads of like, well, I need to do this and I need to make sure I cover that, but need to make sure I don't get too personal. I mean, I think we even struggle with that here at Tastemaker of like, how personal should we get on the podcast versus how much of this should just be like strictly business. So I think that's like a
Yeah,
general content issue.
yeah, because even like I would consider what I have is very much a personal brand. It's Maria Lucey Dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
So and I do think that is really important. But again, it's like sharing things. So vulnerability, if you do have, that's very good. If it's genuine and the audience can relate to it, or else that you're just giving them practical tips that they can take away, or something along those lines. That there always has to be something that they're getting from you.
Yeah. So I have a question about like your audience demographics.
Yeah.
Do you have access to that data? Like what age range is
Hmm.
is watching your content?
On YouTube.
Yes, on YouTube specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's mainly females and they are from 25 to like 65 mainly, with the
Okay.
majority of them being like 35 to 50 kind of
Okay.
50.
And can you see like what times of days they're watching? Like how detailed does this data get?
Yeah, so you can go into your audience insights and you can see like it has all the days of the week and when people are most active. So I always try to post my long form video. Usually it's on like on a Sunday around like, well, in Bermuda time around 12 o'clock. But when
Wow.
it comes to YouTube long form videos, the time of day that you post isn't massively important.
Okay.
Because it will kind of level out during the week anyway. But I do always still try to do that. But the analytics are very good. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I have one that I have not posted on for many
Yeah.
years. My website is the Butter Half, like where I started food content creation, and we have one for Tastemaker, but like we don't really have a huge YouTube
Hmm.
strategy per se, just because our team is small. But I find it like a very fascinating
Hmm.
discoverability tool. But yeah, I
So
haven't really delved into it.
yeah, it is very good. Now, what I will say that I only started doing this week is you can go into your YouTube studio and they have very good analytics. But I have a plugin called vidIQ, and
Okay.
that now integrates with Claude. I've only started experimenting with it this week, but it's very good for kind of giving you insights into what types of videos perform well. And on YouTube as well, there's a tab and it's called like what your audience or who your audience also watches, and it shows other videos from other creators that they also enjoy. And that is, it's good to make sure, and it might take a while, but you want to make sure the videos that they're also watching are kind of like yours in a way that it's not like if yours is a food channel and then they're also watching, I don't know, videos about cars, it might be like, is YouTube know, does YouTube really know who I am? But that can be
Or
good
do
as
you
well.
know who your brand is, right? I
Yeah.
think a lot of times that's the indicator of like, I don't know who I'm talking to, then you're talking to no one, right?
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. But you can also, what I do, I need to do more of it, is on YouTube, you can also post in your community channel, which is just like another kind of news feed, but you can post polls. So you can poll your audience. So sometimes I will be like, would you like more recipe videos? Would you like more what I eat in a day videos, more education
Mm-hmm.
videos? And that can be very good as well.
So, what would be like if somebody were gonna start a YouTube today, or let's say they're new and they're like, I have one, but I'm like, haven't posted anything. So I'm gonna start one or recommit to it, or like I'm committing to like really making YouTube a priority. What are the top two tips that you would give people? I know it's
I would,
subjective, but you know what I
yeah.
mean.
Okay. One thing I would do, and something I still continue to do, is every morning I like to try and spend like 10, 15 minutes on YouTube, just scrolling through the platform,
Hmm.
looking at what other videos are coming up on my homepage. Maybe I'll do it in an incognito browser as well and like search the topics that I'm kind of wanting to make things on. And that's just good to see what's kind of trending, looking at other people's thumbnails, what are they doing. I always like save different videos for like inspiration. And if you can, like in your spare time, watch YouTube videos because that's what will help you start to understand it a little bit better, understand why certain videos are doing well, um, and then try to learn like what it is that they're doing, I suppose. So I think that's really important if you are going to start YouTube. And then, like, obviously, there's the advice of like just get started, but I do think it is important to not put too much pressure on yourself at the start and do start posting videos because it will take a while to figure out what is working. And you need to have, like, it's all about collecting more data. And the more you post, the more data that you get and
Hmm.
the more mistakes you make. And like, you need to make mistakes. I made so many mistakes, and that's how you learn at the end of the day.
Right.
Um, I do think, like, as a food blogger, you do have like an advantage because when I first started, I didn't know how to turn on a camera. I had my microphone in the wrong thing for like ages, and I was wondering why my audio was all funny. So, like, you do understand it, like a lot about color, light, and like editing. You do already have a lot of unique skills that will make it a little bit easier for you. Um,
That's a good point.
yeah, so I would just start and I would just try to keep things simple and try to build everything in as a system. So I kept everything very systemized. I had like a way of scripting where I would save them. Like your whole process, just start slow and build on it and yeah, make it repeatable.
Okay. Always good tips. And I feel like those are good reminders just in general for content creation.
Hmm.
I'm curious, like, what's the craziest comment you've gotten from somebody?
Oh, God, that's um
Or
because
like most confronting, or like what? Or like, do you experience that a lot, or is your audience pretty nice? Again, I
yeah,
only like think of YouTube in the context of like my children is where I spend a lot of time with that. And some of the things, I mean, they're Gen Alpha, so it's like they don't even speak the same language that we speak, but it's just interesting to me, like the things that people say in the chatter, and you have respectful
yeah.
adult women, it sounds like. But have you run into any of that?
Yeah, you definitely like I will say I find YouTube to be quite like my community is really nice and if anybody ever did say anything, then the other people start like commenting back and then I'm like
Yeah,
everybody just leave everybody alone. I do find that people share their whole life story and
yeah.
in a comment and I'm like, oh wow, oh gosh.
You're like,
It's
how do I
only
respond to this?
yeah, which
Yeah,
is okay. Like people feel like they want
yeah,
to be heard and I think like I'm a health professional and they want to like
yeah.
help and I always try to comment back to as many people as possible. But I think I posted a video like probably at the start and it was about the carnivore diet and I had people just commenting that like fruits and vegetables were bad for you and I was just like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because I that's the thing. You're a dietitian. I feel like nutrition is actually like a highly controversial topic. And so that's why I'm like, do people just get in there and get crazy? And like, how
Great if
many?
they do. It's great if they do
Yeah,
though, because that
it's
just
true.
makes more comments and it's great for the algorithm. So I never like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even I wouldn't say I have a thick skin, but I'm really not phased by my comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so much. And I also think it's interesting too, like the difference that you said at the beginning, how like where you are just internationally from us, like we're based in the US, so I say international for us, you being based in Ireland, and how blogging on like an international scale maybe isn't as legitimized as like a career or being a content creator as let's say, in the United States. I mean, we definitely still have those issues here, but I think in the last few years the creator economy has really cemented and legitimized itself. Um, and so my question is YouTube seen as more of like a credible creator platform in Ireland, as opposed to like having a blog or a website, or is being a content creator in general just kind of like this crazy thing?
Yeah, I think if I met somebody and I said I was a YouTuber versus I said I was a blogger, they'd have a better understanding of what a YouTuber is. I don't think they would get what a blogger is.
Okay.
But I still think a
That's
lot of people don't really understand it. I have young nieces and nephews, and they think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Younger
Yeah, that's
generation,
interesting. So it's like
yeah,
a generational thing as opposed to like a cultural thing. I mean, I guess it's a little bit of both. I'm always just
yeah,
deeply curious about like how things, work in the world. My academic background's in sociology, so I was like, so tell me about how the system of all of this works. That's where my brain
yeah.
goes. So
Hmm.
thank you for entertaining that. And I think like content creation and social media is inherently that way. And so it's interesting to see the data and how it supports that and how we build community and interact with each other as humans
Hmm.
across the globe. So, rapid fire wrap up. We like to do this at the end, but we have a new twist this time for you. This is funny that this was like even in the agenda because I literally was playing this game with my three boys in the car yesterday and I had to edit it and I called it Fool Around Marry Kill. I was like, I'm still trying to keep the F, so we can call it that.
Okay.
Daphne also suggested Kiss Mary Kill. I mean, we can do that, but whatever. But I love the concept. I feel like this never gets old, but we're doing YouTube edition, and I already know my answer, so I'm so curious to hear. All
Okay.
right. Fool around with Mary Kill. You have Hot Ones with Sean Evans,
Okay.
Mr. Beast, or Nick DiGiovanni, which Candace met him at the St. Jude's event a couple years ago.
Oh, jealous.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I would do. I would fool around with Nick Giovanni. only because
Fair.
only because I would want to marry Mr. Beast, because I would want to spend all my time with Mr. Beast, even though he's a workaholic, so I probably would never see him. But I just really like him. I
Okay.
think he's really, really interesting, even though I really like Nick. But that would just be like, if we're fooling around, I suppose I'm not actually spending that much time with him, but maybe
Yeah.
he could make me breakfast. I don't know.
You're just having a good time.
Yeah. So then it would be the hot ones he would get the avoid. I do like him, but I don't really like spicy food. So
Yeah. Sean, you're headed to the executioner. Sorry, bro. I
who
wish
is
we had
yours?
some YouTube sound effects. Meow.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So maybe unpopular opinion, and maybe things have changed. He seems like he's a philanthropist and he's grown up and he's a nice guy, but like there is something about Mr. Beast that I just don't like. So
Oh,
like I
really?
would
Okay.
kill him. Like I've heard like he's like nice and then he's like can be diabolical and
He's
behind the scenes.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely,
And
I'd say very intense. But I've listened to some of his podcasts and I find him interesting.
I mean, super smart guy.
Yeah.
Again, like my kids watch him a lot. Like I feel like I've seen enough of him in his story about how he just like started talking on his computer to people and now is like
Mm.
arguably one of the most famous people in the
In the world.
world, if
Yeah.
not the.
Yeah.
If we're
Yeah.
talking about how many people know who he is across
Hmm.
the globe. But yeah, I just like
I
I'd
probably
send
would
him
have
to the executioner.
I probably would have thought that initially until I listened to him in like more podcasts and stuff. And he's done a
Yeah.
lot with his chocolate company, and like he seems really
Hmm.
passionate about like that, and I really admired that.
Yeah, and he is like he's actually like using his wealth to
I
like
think
actually help
so.
people. Like
I
whether
think
it's
so.
performative or not, like it's still
Yeah,
helping
it's hard to
people.
know. Hmm. It's
So
hard to know when
like,
there's a fake.
between him and Elon Musk, I'm gonna pick Mr. Beast, but he's not on this list. I think I would marry Nick because
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just seems
Hmm.
delightful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would fool around with hot ones with Sean Evans. I feel like I saw him somewhere as well, and I was like, "You are adorable." Um, but yeah, no, they just seem like fun
Yeah.
and cool and trendy and all those things. Like these other two seem like a little more
Hmm.
mature, but
Yeah, that's true. Hmm.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Maria, for joining us. It was so fun to just pick your brain about YouTube. I admittedly, I don't know a whole ton about it, and I find it to be a very fascinating platform because so many of the people in our community use it, or they're really rethinking like their branding and their community, especially right now, and ways that they can use tools that are working to help them just continue their content creation businesses and diversifying them and future proofing them. And so it's been really nice to hear your perspective. So, where can everybody connect with you on socials or your website?
Yeah, so my website is just marialucydietitian.com. And then if you search Maria Lucy Dietitian on YouTube, I should come up.
Perfect. And then just a quick plug for Tastemaker Conference 2027. It's going to be in San Antonio, January 8th and 9th. We really hope to see you there if you don't already have your ticket. And if you do, we can't wait to party in true cowboy fashion in Texas, Tastemaker 10 in Texas. Where we'll be talking about more topics like this and networking with one another and getting into the business of food content creation. So thanks again, Maria, for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Tastemaker Talk. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know by leaving a review, giving us a rating, or sharing it with your creator friends. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. You can find more from us on our website, tastemakerconference.com, or even join us for an event where we learn and grow as a community of creatives. The conversation doesn't stop here. Talk soon!